Hi everybody, it's Onyx here, and today I am bringing you part 1 of a new what if on the main channel. What if Deku was in Miraculous Ladybug? If you guys would like to see a part 2 to this video, try and get this video to at least 200 likes and I'll try and make the next part as fast as possible. And also, most of you guys don't know I actually have a second channel. This channel is where I'm going to upload random what ifs and ideas that you guys comment on this comment section down below. Did you guys know only 66.8 of you are actually not subscribed, the people who are watching this video right at this very moment? If you guys can actually go down there and actually hit the subscribe button right now, it'll only take 2 seconds out of your day, and plus you get an extra added on bonus because you guys can actually see my actual videos really earlier instead of just typing up what if Deku and just going through today. That makes it a lot easier for you guys to actually find my videos. And without further ado, without me rambling, I'll let you guys enjoy it. We are going to begin our what if off at the start of the anime where Izuku is pursued of quirkless. Sashi and Inko was both shocked, but they still loved their son even though knowing he was quirkless. As the doctor was saying that he couldn't be a hero and told him to give up, Sashi stood up and punched the doctor square in the face, telling him to shut up and that his son can be whatever he wants to be when he grows up. What type of stupid doctor are you, telling my son for him what he cannot and can't be? My son will prove you wrong no matter what way you think. He'll become the strongest, quirkless hero there'll ever be. As Izuku's eyes just glimmered a little bit of hope, but he was still sad that he was quirkless, as Inko comforted her son, saying that it's okay, Izuku. How about we go to holiday in a couple of weeks? How about that, Izuku? She said, patting his head with a bit of happiness in her voice. As Izuku started to pick up a little bit and started to get more and more happy, as Izuku let out a quick smile and just started to say, Mom, can I be a hero even without a quirk? Izuku said, as Inko just replied saying, of course you, as she was interrupted by Hisashi saying, of course you can, son. You can be anything you want, he said with a brave and attachable and contagious smile. As Inko and Hisashi and Izuku both went home that day, with Izuku skipping for joy that his parents didn't hate him for being quirkless. We do a little time skip of a couple of days with Izuku going back to preschool. Izuku went back as mostly everyone there was staring at him weirdly as break came around when Izuku was in preschool. Oi, Deku, what do you think you're doing? Kachan said, or Bakugo said. As Izuku turned around to say, oh hi Kachan, as Kachan just threw an explosion at Izuku, saying that, you're worthless, you're quirkless. You shouldn't be here as someone as great as me, Bakugo said with a snarl voice tone, as Bakugo threw an explosion at Izuku's head, making Izuku fly back a little bit, around about 12 feet, as Izuku got up, trying to get away, but he just limped, as the explosive blonde got closer to Izuku, firing off another explosion. Oi! Where do you think you're going, Deku? Bakugo shouted at Izuku, trying to get him away from him. As Izuku just started saying, Kachan, stop! Izuku said in a very worried tone. As Bakugo started to brutally beat Izuku to the point he didn't want to be a hero anymore. But this just motivated Izuku even more, but made him a bit sad. As the time Izuku was picked up by his mother, he realized he had cuts, bruises, and loads of burn marks on him. As Inko started to ask Izuku what was wrong, but Izuku didn't respond. As Inko went over to Mitsuki, asking her, what did her son do to Izuku? She said in a very straightforward tone that made Mitsuki almost shit herself. As Mitsuki responded saying, what do you mean? Bakugo said he did nothing to him. Bakugo, Mitsuki shouted at him, as this got the attention of some of the class and teachers. Bakugo was trying to walk away, but he was grabbed by his mother by the arm, pulling him back towards her, putting him in front of her. Bakugo, what did you do to Izuku? She shouted at him. as Bakugo just started to say, "It's not my fault he's quirkless. He should have just done a swan dive," he said without thinking, as this just made Izuku sad as he just started to cry, as Mitsuki just battered Bakugo on the head, almost giving him brain damage. Yeah, I'm going down that route, as Bakugo started to cry, as Mitsuki just grabbed Bakugo by the ear and started to rapidly apologize to Inko and Izuku, as her son started to cry even more, as Inko just started to pat Izuku on the head and just gave him a piggyback ride home that day. As we do a time skip of the next day, this would be a Saturday, as Sashi got a ring on his phone, or got a call on his phone, asking him to come to France for a job internship or a workplace. Sashi told his family about this, as Inko just said to him, "Why can't we all just go? It'll make more sense then, wouldn't it, that you won't have to worry about us consistently in Japan," she said, as Sashi recalled his work environment or just workplace, as he's relayed the information to them, as they would have just agreed to it, but with a condition, as Sashi would have just agreed to it, as this condition would have kept a secret for a little while, as Izuku and everyone else who was in the Midoriya residence would have actually just packed up and started to get ready, as they heard a knock on the door. As Inko went to go answer it, it reveals it was Mitsuki Bakugo, her husband, and Katsuki. "Come on, Bakugo, say you're sorry," Mitsuki nudged Bakugo into the room. I'm sorry." "Say it like you mean it, Bakugo. I'm sorry, okay, for bullying him. I'm sorry for leaving permanent marks on him. That's all I want to say. And also, Bakugo, what else?" As Bakugo started to bow his head, as he started to apologize rapidly, as this is what Inko wanted, as she just started laughing at him like a mad scientist finally resurrecting the dead, sort of like that, as Inko explained to them where they will be going, as Mitsuki would be sad because one of her friends will be leaving for France. "I'm gonna miss you, Inko," Mitsuki said. As we do a time skip of a day where Izuku and Inko and Masashi are both getting on the plane leaving for France, and Mitsuki was standing outside of the airport waving goodbye to them, as Inko started to wave back as well, with Izuku at the window waving back also, as they were in the air gliding, as Izuku was asleep on his mother and dad's lap, sleeping like a little teddy bear or a little kitty, as Izuku started to slowly wake up from a little bit of turbulence, but he was comforted from his mother and went straight back to sleep. As 24 hours went by, as Izuku and the Midoriya family arrived in France, as they were greeted with a limo and complimentary drinks from the company, as mostly everyone who were in that little car actually speak French, mostly not Izuku and Inko and Asashi, of course, but they could understand little bits of Japanese, so they all arrived at the hotel where they were greeted with the two CEOs of the company that Asashi would be working with under for the rest of the day, this being, "Ah, Mr. Midoriya, how are you doing?" "Oh, hi, Mr. Agrest. How are you doing today?" he said, bowing his head, as Mr. Midoriya. "Who is these two right here? I think these might be your beautiful wife and son," he said, as Izuku went behind his mother's leg, introducing himself very nervously, but it was still cute to catch Agrest's wife attention, thinking how cute he looks, and thinking he might get along well with Adrian. "So, Mr. Midoriya, so we get to work setting up your quarters here?" he said, as Midoriya and Mr. Agrest came walking through into their study, as Mrs. Midoriya and Izuku both walked with Mrs. Agrest, can't remember her name so don't ask me, to a beautiful flower garden where Izuku's eyes glittered with brightness, as Inko did so too, because they both love gardening, so why don't they? As Izuku said, "Wow, they're so beautiful," he said, getting from the back of his mother's leg. As Izuku started to walk over to the flowers, just smelled one of them and it smelled like roses. Even though they were different types of flowers, it still smelled really nice to him. It brightened up his day and made his hair go a little bit greener for some reason, as mostly everyone there was thinking, "Oh, he's so cute," Adrian's mum said. Izuku heard this as he just decided to blush. As Izuku was looking around at the flowers, a boy with beautiful golden hair that could be swaying in the wind, as this boy came up to Izuku asking him, saying, "Who are you?" he said. Izuku turned his head slowly to be greeting with this blonde-haired boy. "Why are you staring at mother's flowers like that?" this mystery boy said, as Adrian's mom came walking up to him, introducing Izuku to him, as he bowed his head, saying, "Hi, my name's Adrian Agress. It's really nice to meet you," he said, as Izuku just introduced himself once again to the man, but this time he was bowing. "Whoa, are you from Japan?" he said, as Izuku just looked back up to him, saying, "Yes, I'm from Japan, but don't you hate me?" he said. "Why would I hate you? You're just a new person. Why the hell would I need to hate you for?" Adrian said with a gleaming 120 gigawatt smile. As we would skip all the way until Izuku is 14 years of age, while he was entering into basically high school for his age in Paris. All of the events that would have happened in Miraculous Ladybug with Adrian's mother dying would still happen, with Adrian regressed, or his actual father actually going off the rails a tiny bit, but still having Hasashi and Inko to calm him down, and also now a new person into the family called Natalie to actually calm him down as well and make sure to take his meds. Out of all of this, however, he's still going to be that one and only villain, Hawkmoth, that will cause them trouble. As we start our point of view off with Izuku and Adrian in the backyard, actually just walking around talking like usual, as Izuku had the bright idea to actually tell his father that they want to go to public school. As Adrian would interject saying, "But wouldn't that just be disagreeing, father?" Adrian said, "Well, yes in a way, but if we actually play our words smart and actually use our wordplay that we've been taught, we can actually make father and my dad basically actually agree to what we're going to think. And plus, if anything does go bad in public school and if we do end up getting bullied, we can always just come back here. It's not a problem," Izuku said. "Okay then, fine Izu, let's go then," Adrian said, walking with Izuku to their father's office. The moment Izuku and Adrian arrived at the father's office, Mr. Midoriya was sat in there taking some notes on what Mr. Agress wants in their fashion contest that they're going to have. As Adrian and Izuku both walked up to Mr. Agrest and asked them a question, saying that they go to public school, father, Adrian said, as Mr. Agress was hesitant, but Mrs. Midoriya decided to walk into that room at that very minute and intervene, saying, "I think it would be good for them to actually get some human interaction instead of just Adrian modeling all the time and Izuku just hopping along with him just for the reaction of it. I think Izuku and Adrian need to have more social interaction. So, Mr. Agress, do you think that would actually be better for them and more to their daily lives than just modeling?" As Inko went on for 5 minutes, as Adrian Agress' father and Mrs. Midoriya had a little argument, but it's not too much of an argument, as Adrian Agress' father finally gave in and gave Izuku and Adrian the permission to actually go to school. As we cut a few days later with Izuku and Adrian both driving to their school, as Izuku and Adrian both had a conversation in the car of what life was going to be like in public school. Izuku went there at 4 years old, but he couldn't remember much, so I'm going off that now. As Izuku and Adrian were both arriving at the front gates of the school, as most people there were staring at the limo thinking, "Oh god, it's rich kids. They must be very ignorant and stuck up like what quote-unquote is Chloe." As the first person to exit the actual limo was Izuku, most of the girls there were just staring at him. "Oh my god, he's so cute," one of them was thinking in the back of their head, as some of them were mostly thinking it out loud. As the moment Adrian exited the car, he was instantly bombarded with a bunch of girls asking for her autograph, or his autograph to be more precise, as Adrian had to turn them down for now as him and Izuku both walked into class as the bodyguard got out of the car and told them to have a good day at school. As Izuku and Adrian both walked into their first class of the day, being greeted with Miss Valiera to my memory preserves, as Izuku introduced himself first, but he introduced himself also as a Japanese citizen as well as a French citizen, as the next person to introduce himself was Adrian Agreste, which everyone mostly knew about him. Hi everybody, my name's Adrian Agreste, and it's very nice to meet you all. As everything would play out like the canon, but Izuku would try and make friends with Marinette and other people like the canon. Marinette would be thinking, he's stuck up. As Izuku said, I'm not stuck up, what do you mean? He said in a very innocent-like tone. I'm sorry if you think I'm an idiot, but I'm stuck up, but I'm not. I do apologize if you see me that way, Izuku said. Adrian would just be trying to talk to Izuku all day, which he would have exceeded, as mostly everyone there would be trying to bombard him with questions and everything of the sorts, as Adrian just used his quirk to leap with Izuku all the way to the top of the school, ditching all the girls in the process of this. Oh my god, I didn't think it would be this chaotic, Izuku said. Same here, Izuku. Holy shit. I think we need to just take a little break here for a little bit until class started. I think Miss Valier would mind if we're late, but I think she would understand, knowing your status as a model and everything like that. As we fast forward to the end of the day, with Izuku and Adrian both almost walking out of the school, realizing it was raining. As Izuku and Adrian both actually walked out of the school together, as they saw Marinette without an umbrella, as Izuku got hold of Adrian's umbrella and gave it to Marinette as a parting gift. Here you go, Marinette, Izuku said with a 20 gigawatt smile, making Marinette blush. Thank you, Izuku, she said, blushing, stuttering on her words, as Adrian shouted at Izuku, telling him to hurry up, as Izuku just smiled back at Marinette as they both went their separate ways that day. As we do a time skip when Izuku arrives home, as Mr. Agreste and Inko is still talking about their futures with their sons. I would think Izuku would be brilliant at modeling. He would be basically the star pupil there next to my Adrian, he said with a confident tone. Funny. You think Adrian will outshine Izuku? Make me laugh. My son is way prettier than yours. I know that for a fact, she said, smirking evilly. As Inko heard the door open, as she instantly rushed out of their office, stating Izuku and Adrian to follow them, as she grabbed them, as using anime magic, she ran up, sprinting with a cloud of dust following her in her wake. Mom, what you doing? Izuku said, being dragged all the way upstairs, being thrown onto the couch, telling them to try on different costumes. As Izuku was weirded out by this, as he asked his mom, why is he doing this, or she's doing this. Well, son, I want to prove to his father that you're way prettier than little Adrian here, she said with an evil smirk. Izuku just agreed to it, but he still thought it was weird, so he just went along with it for now. And I'll do a little time skip when Izuku is finished. I'll put a little bit of picture on the screen if you guys would like to see it, but it's there for a reason. Izuku and Adrian both came down, as they both of their family members were both shocked to see Izuku in an actual posh looking outfit that looked like it was made for a model or a prince. Ha! Told you he would look better, Inko said, holding out her hand for Agreste to give for a roundabout. I don't know the actual currency in France, so I'm just probably gonna say like 1,000 USD or pounds. As Mr. Agreste swallowed there in shame, but still was prideful about it. As Mr. Agreste told them they have to get out now. So hurry up, he said. I have to get some work done. as the oldest agreed and walked out of the room wondering what he would be doing, as unknowns to them Mr. Agrest was opening 2 hatches in his door, opening a little hatch underneath, as you would hear a little sound from out the door, but it's not too noticeable, as he went downstairs into a little basement type top area. He arrived there to see butterflies upon butterflies there. But the moment he got there, he instantly revealed a little pendant that was on his chest, as he just said a single phrase, "Nuwu, Darkwings, rise!" he said, as butterflies surrounded him from all angles, turning him into Hawk Moth, the dangerous villain of Paris, as Mr. Agrest shoved his cane onto the ground, severing a butterfly from his bare palms. "Go, my evil Akuma, and evilize their hearts," he said, releasing the butterfly into the wide open. As we cut to Izuku's point of view, Izuku walked into his room seeing a box right in front of him. Izuku saw this was a weird pattern. Izuku walked up to it, opening the box, to reveal a weird looking ring, as a glowing thing came out of the ring, as it surrounded Izuku, knocking him on his ass. As Izuku looked up, as it finally manifested, a little looking cat being with little cat ears and a tail, and looked like a black cat, Izuku internally thought, as the Kwami just says, "Hi, I am Plague, it's nice to meet you," with his innocent smile, as Izuku was freaking out as he backed up a little bit. Who are you?" Izuku said, as the man introduced himself again, but in more of an intonable manner, as Izuku finally wrapped his head around it, as the Kwami finally told him what he needed to do, as Izuku equipped the ring, as the ring magically turned white, or silver looking, as the Kwami went next to Izuku and just told him to say a magic word. "Plague, claws out," Izuku said in unison with Plague, as Izuku was surrounded by a black misty aura, as Izuku started to grow little cat ears and a belt like a cat tail. As Izuku was weirded out by this, once the transformation was complete, Izuku was completely in shock, thinking this is the one thing he's always wanted was a quirk so he can prove to everyone he could be a hero, and now he can actually take this as an advantage and become a true hero, Izuku was thinking, as Izuku just got a bright idea to actually go patrolling right now. As Izuku grabbed his backpack and jumped out straight out the window. Without realizing it, Izuku was holding a little baton type of thing, as Izuku on instinct actually used this as a version to actually boost himself around like he was flying, as Izuku was jumping from building to building to building, as he finally managed to actually settle down. The moment he did, however, he felt amazing. The rush of adrenaline was pumping through his body, as Izuku managed to actually sit down to catch his breath and actually realize what just happened to him. "Okay then, so I just got a power, but it's not a quirk," Izuku's thinking, as Izuku didn't realize, but he didn't know how to actually de-transform from this. Izuku tried different types of ways he could actually de-transform, as Izuku thought of Plague's name at this moment in time, as he just randomly said, "Plague, claws in," Izuku said, as his magical transformation retracted into itself, turning him back to normal. As Izuku's transformation retracted, Izuku saw the magical being known as Plague randomly appear along with it disappearing. As Izuku managed to catch him from passing out, he said, "Excuse me, are you okay?" Izuku said, very worried for his partner, or Izuku was thinking that at least. Izuku managed to actually wake him up, as Plague told him what he needed to actually refill his energy. Izuku actually somehow managed to actually, let's just say for plot convenience, he carries cheese around with him. As Izuku actually fed him some weird cheese Izuku thought of actually having for him on hand. Izuku actually managed to feed him this, making Plague come back to full strength. Izuku didn't realize, however, Izuku was stuck on the fucking roof. He didn't know how to get down. So he made a mischief plan as Izuku managed to actually shimmer his way down the actual fire escape without being noticed. As Izuku actually managed to escape this, Izuku felt a weird rumbling on the ground. Izuku looked forward and looked to the left of the alleyway to see a man destroying most of the city. Izuku thought to himself, maybe the poor heroes would sort to this. It couldn't be just a random attack, could it? Izuku said. As Plag just intervened, saying, no, that's not any, that's an Akuma. What's that? Izuku said. Well, an Akuma is basically, if you get possessed by one through strong physical emotion, you get transformed into one of them. Isn't that good or bad? Izuku said. It's bad. It amplifies your anger and makes you blinded by rage, Plag said. Well, that's not good. Plag, claws out, Izuku said, as they both rushed into the fray. Without Izuku realizing it, however, he heard someone say, is that the best you got? Come on! As she twiddled her little yo-yo around into a shield, deflecting most of the attacks. As Izuku was in shock, as he knew what to do somehow. Let's just say he did. As Izuku managed to help this girl out to somehow defeat the person and save the day. This person actually managed to fix everything, however, but most of the heroes around Paris were shocked, thinking a bunch of vigilantes just took out a guy with a gentrification quirk. They took a second glance, however, as they realized it was their local superheroes that has been here for generations and generations, way before quirks, Ladybug and Cat Noir, as most of everyone there were screaming for joy knowing their favorite heroes and heroes that have been here for eons has finally come back out. As Izuku waved his hand, but his ring magically beeped, telling him he had to go. As Ladybug followed behind him, but Ladybug's earring started to beep as well on its last beep. As Izuku and Ladybug separated, as Izuku managed to get home in time, managed to de-transform before his dad finally came in the room telling him something secret. Hey Izuku, you want to see something cool? Mr. Midoriya said, or Asashi, as he came into the room with a full set of modeling clothes, makeup, and a person with bow tie, and it looked like a modeling agent. As the man just said to Izuku, Chip chop Izuku, you're gonna have to get ready soon for your, let's just say, a performance to 20,000 people. Wait, what? I'm modeling? I don't want to do that, Izuku said, as the actual man who was dressed in bow ties actually dragged Hasashi out of the room and locked the door behind him, as Hasashi just said, you must be getting Izuku ready, I'll just mind my own business for now, as the man walked over to Izuku, placing a giant mountains of papers right in front of him. As the man just told Izuku to skip to the end, as he tried to force Izuku to sign a modeling contract. So Izuku did the rational thing and broke the pen in half, scattering all the papers across the room. What did I say? I'm not doing this. I'd rather be a fucking janitor than do this shit, Izuku said with a loud tone, catching the eye of Adrian next door. I'm self-conscious about this. I've told my father multiple times I hate doing modeling. I really don't. I like to see other people doing it. Honestly, Izuku said. As we do a time skip of that day, Izuku actually managed to persuade his dad not that he wanted to do modeling, and this guy's a pedophile. Joking, of course. Izuku woke up the next day to the alarming of Plag actually nudging him and poking him in the head, trying to wake him up, as the actual cat couldn't wake Izuku up, so he just about to shout cataclysm. As Izuku actually managed to wake up at that point because he knew how destructive Cat Noir's actual power was when it's released uncontrollably. As Izuku woke up in a flash, getting ready for his second day of school. Izuku got ready and went straight out the front door to his ride, as he saw Adrian standing there with the butler waiting for Izuku. Izuku, you took your sweet time, didn't you? Adrian said, shouting at him from afar. Come on, hurry up, we're going to be late for class, he said. I'm coming, hold on, Adrian, Izuku said. As Izuku got into the limo, as the driver said, You got everything, Izuku, master? And young Adrian? They both said yes, as the driver drove them to school, dropping them off on the front entrance, with Izuku meeting up with Marinette and her friends. I'm not going to name them all because they'll be irrelevant to the series so far. As Izuku chat with them, as Adrian walked up to them asking them, Excuse me, but can I join? He said, as most of the girls around his area just started to look at him saying, Oh my god, it's Adrian! As they both ran to him asking for an autograph. As Izuku grabbed his arm and pulled him into him. I swear to God there's probably going to be fun out of this online. I swear to fuck. As Izuku just managed to pull Adrian to him as they both moved away instantly. Izuku and Adrian both blush a tiny bit because they know what just happened. Oh, here comes the gay comments. Jesus Christ. As Izuku managed to actually separate themselves, with most of the girls there blushing like mad, thinking, Oh my god, he is... As Izuku interrupted him, saying, No, we're not together, he said, waving his hands around like a madman. You sure? They both said, as Izuku and Adrian both blushed as they both did the same thing like unison, as Marinette would have intervened, saying, You two sure know a lot about each other. Are you brothers by any chance? Marinette said with a questionable face. No, we're not actually biological brothers, but you could say we could be brothers per se, but my father worked for his father since I was 4. We've basically had a brotherly bond since then, Izuku said, as Adrian nodded his head frankly, as their day began like normal, as everything would have gone the same like the original Ladybug anime or manga, whatever you want guys would like to call it. Izuku and Marinette would have been sat together as the alarm went off for an emergency evacuation of the school building. For the sake of it, the Hot Moth was actually trying to attack the actual schools because one of the actual students there managed to mutate after losing a test or scores and failing his class. Come out, kitty cat, come out, little ladybug, the man said, making half of the building explode. Oh god, he said, as mostly everyone there was running frantically for their lives the opposite way. But for Izuku and Marinette, however, they both tried to separate themselves from the groups, as Izuku managed to actually hide in the toilets and actually managed to say, Plague! Come on, man, where are you? He said, as, Hey, Izuku, I'm here, what's wrong? He said, as Izuku just said, We need to go now. Plague, claws out, Izuku said, throwing his hands right in front of him, as Plague was sucked into the ring, making him transform. As Marinette's point of view, she would have just said the same thing, but in a different meaner. Tiki, spots on! Yeah! She said as they both transformed in unison. When they both transformed, Izuku punched a hole through the wall as he went through it, catching the man off guard who was attacking their school. Hey, you little toe dark and ugly, how are you? He said. What you're doing isn't perfect. As the man just face palmed and say, That's not a good pun. As he just started to attack Izuku, or Cat Noir in this matter, as Izuku dodged every single attack he could, as Izuku was being about to be attacked from behind before Marinette showed up, or Ladybug, and blocked the attack with her spinning yo-yo shield. Come on, kitty, you need to learn how to watch your back, she said. Is that meant to be a pun, my lady? If it is, that's a little bit out of per hand, he said. I wanna die. As Izuku just said, Cataclysm, but he was stopped by Marinette, stopping his hand immediately. What do you think you're doing, kitty? Save your power until the actual villain leaves his guard open. We need to figure out where his Akuma is, she said, as Izuku patted himself on the head. Of course, I'm stupid, he said. That isn't perfect of me. As Izuku actually managed to sneak behind the guy, seeing where the actual Akuma was, as Izuku saw a giant pouch with a bunch of letters and everything in it, as he would have relayed this to Marinette or Ladybug. My lady, I think it is those little papers on the side of his bag, he said, as Marinette would have actually tossed her yo-yo over to Izuku, telling her to actually do the skipping rope. Oh, you mean that, my lady, he said, as Izuku actually managed to trip the guy over, with Marinette actually using her lucky charm. It's a grappling hook? Oh, she said, as she grappled onto the guy's bag. She tossed it over to Izuku. Cataclysm! Izuku shouted, as he disintegrated in a matter of seconds, leaving the guy for his akumatized body to disintegrate, leaving nothing but the man's body and his own soul intact. Basically makes him sound human, or is human back. It makes it sound like I actually killed him. Holy shit. Shit. As Ladybug just threw her Miraculous Ladybug in the air and shouted, Miraculous Ladybug! She shouted as the Miraculous dispersed it, fixing everything that was broken before it became an Akuma-tized villain. As the boy sat upon his feet wondering what he was doing, as he was surrounded by Miraculous Ladybug and Miraculous Cat Noir. Don't know why I said it like that, but it's there. As Izuku actually managed to help the guy up, saying, Excuse me, you okay? He said, making the guy cheer up a bit, as this made his day, because he's an actual Miraculous fan, or Ladybug fan, and I keep on saying Miraculous before the actual name. As they took photos, as Izuku and Marinette both went opposite ways to de-transform so they can rejoin the group unnoticed. As which they did so, most of the people there was wondering where they went, as Izuku and Marinette both explained to them that they went to opposite directions without realizing they were separated from the group, because they were being pushed through the halls. They both laughed nervously, as they both had a blush on their faces. As this is where we're going to end the video. If you guys would like for me to drop every single series I'm doing at the moment and only focus on this one, try and get this video to 400 likes, and I'll try and release this the next part as I possibly can. If you guys would like to leave suggestions in the comments section down below, if you guys want to add anything to the series, you can also get in contact with me personally on Discord, or you can actually put it in the general chat of the Discord as well. And I'll see you guys later. In a bit, boys. Safe.